The massive screens in Earth Defense Command lit up with warnings. Strange energy readings appeared at the edge of the solar system, beyond Pluto's orbit. Admiral William Carter stood from his chair, his weathered face tightening as he studied the data. At 62, he had seen enough combat during the Mars conflicts to know when trouble was coming. "Confirmation?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tension building in the room. Lieutenant Sammy Wilson nodded, her fingers moving quickly across her console. "Yes, sir. Multiple objects, moving in formation. Definitely not natural. Size readings suggest vessels larger than anything we've built." Carter nodded once. "Alert all outposts. Bring defense systems to ready status." He turned to his communications officer. "Get me the Secretary General." Within an hour, Earth's Unified Defense Council gathered in the emergency chamber beneath Geneva. Representatives from all major nations sat in grim silence as Admiral Carter explained the situation. "The objects will reach Jupiter's orbit in approximately 7 days at their current speed," Carter said, pointing to the projection. "Their energy signatures suggest advanced propulsion systems far beyond our current capabilities." Secretary General Maria Lopez leaned forward. "Are we certain they're artificial? Could this be some natural phenomenon?" Dr. Alan Shepard, head of the Advanced Physics Division, shook his head. "No natural phenomenon moves like this. The objects are maintaining perfect formation while accelerating. They're ships, and they're headed straight for us." The room fell silent until General Howard Smith spoke up. "What are our options?" "We have 12 battle-ready vessels with jump capability," Carter replied. "Captain Lisa Nguyen is preparing to move them into defensive positions near Jupiter. Our lunar bases are activating their defense grids, and Mars Outpost is on high alert." "What about communication?" asked Karen Matthews, Earth's chief diplomatic envoy. The former peace negotiator had helped end the African resource wars years earlier. "We should attempt contact before assuming hostile intent." Carter nodded reluctantly. "We're preparing message packets in all known mathematical sequences, but we should also prepare for the worst." 3 days passed with Earth in a state of controlled panic. News of the approaching alien fleet leaked despite government attempts to manage information. Some people fled to rural areas. Others gathered in churches, mosques, and temples. Most simply waited, watching the skies with a mix of fear and wonder. In orbit around Earth, defense platforms hummed to life. Commander Peter Johnson supervised the activation of the experimental shield system aboard the space station. "Aegis. Power levels stable," reported his engineer, "but we've never tested it at full capacity." Johnson nodded grimly. "Let's hope we don't have to." On the 5th day, the alien fleet slowed as it approached Saturn. Earth received its first transmission. A complex series of mathematical equations followed by visual images showing thousands of worlds under one rule. The message was clear. The visitors represented a vast empire. Karen Matthews worked with linguistic experts to craft a response. "We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations," her message began. "Earth and its colonies are sovereign territory. We wish to establish diplomatic relations based on mutual respect." The reply came 8 hours later. The aliens identified themselves as the Zentari Empire, rulers of over 300 star systems. Their message contained no threats, but their intent was clear. They considered all habitable worlds within their travel range as potential territory. Admiral Carter called an emergency meeting. "They're not here to make friends. This is a colonization force. Their fleet outnumbers ours by hundreds to one," General Smith noted. "If they attack, we can't win in a conventional fight." Dr. Shepard cleared his throat. "Maybe we don't need to. My team has been analyzing their transmission signals. There's something unusual about their energy patterns. They use remarkably stable harmonics in their communications, too stable." "What does that mean?" Carter asked. "It means their technology prioritizes order and predictability. It's efficient but potentially vulnerable to chaos theory applications." Shepard pushed his glasses up. "Remember Project Prometheus?" Carter's eyes widened slightly. "The quantum displacement technology? I thought it was deemed too unpredictable." "For Everyday use, yes, but as a defense system, Shepard smiled thinly. Its unpredictability might be exactly what we need. The Zentari fleet continued its approach, sending more detailed messages. They explained that Earth would benefit from joining their empire. They offered technology and protection in exchange for resources and obedience. When Matthews attempted to negotiate terms that maintained Earth's independence, the tone changed. High Admiral Vextor, commander of the Zentari fleet, appeared in the transmission. His form was vaguely humanoid, but with gray-blue skin and forearms. His translator conveyed amused condescension. Your species has only achieved primitive, faster-than-light travel within the past 5 decades, he stated. You have no standing to negotiate as equals. Prepare your leaders to welcome us as your new governors. The transmission ended. The room fell silent until Admiral Carter stood. Send our response, he ordered. Matthews looked uncertain. The diplomatic package? No. Carter's voice was firm. Send them this. The solar system is under human protection. Any hostile action will be met with force. We strongly advise you to change course and retreat. This is not a negotiation. The communications officer hesitated before sending the message. Many in the command center exchanged worried glances. Earth was clearly outmatched. The Zentari response was swift. High Admiral Vexator appeared again, this time laughing openly. Your courage is noted, the translator conveyed. It will be recorded that humans face their inevitable future with dignity. We will reach your Mars colony in 3 days. Prepare for our arrival. On the Zentari command ship, Sub-Commander Krell approached his superior carefully. High Admiral, our archivists have found something concerning. Ancient texts mention a species called humans with unusual warnings attached. Vextor dismissed this with a wave of his upper right hand. Superstitious nonsense. Look at their technology. They are less advanced than dozens of worlds we have peacefully absorbed this cycle alone. As you say, High Admiral. Krell bowed, but his expression remained troubled. On Earth, final preparations were underway. Captain Nguyen positioned her small fleet in the shadow of Jupiter's moons, using the gas giant's massive magnetic field to mask their energy signatures. They won't expect us to have ships this far out, she told her crew. When they pass by, we'll hit their rear guard. At the Mars Research Outpost, Commander Eric Wells received urgent orders from Earth. He gathered his team of 200 scientists and security personnel. Evacuation ships are on their way, he announced. But they won't arrive before the alien fleet. We have another mission. He activated a secure terminal, revealing hidden schematics. For the past decade, this facility has housed more than just research. We're sitting on humanity's most advanced weapons platform. The scientists looked shocked as walls slid away, revealing sophisticated equipment built into the very structure of the base. Ladies and gentlemen, Wells said grimly, welcome to the real Project Prometheus. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter stood at the window of his office looking at the night sky. The stars seemed peaceful, betraying no sign of the approaching danger. He thought of his grandchildren, wondering what world they would inherit after this encounter. His comm unit beeped. Sir, the Zentari fleet has accelerated. They'll reach Mars tomorrow. Carter nodded, though no one could see him. Then it begins. Tomorrow. Send the final authorization codes to all commands, and may God help us all. Morning came to Mars with an unnatural red glow. It wasn't the planet's familiar rusty landscape that cast the light, but the approaching Zentari ships. Their massive hulls reflected the distant sun as they moved into position around the small human outpost. 30 vessels, each larger than Earth's biggest battleship, surrounded the research facility. Commander Eric Wells watched from the control room as his people rushed to their stations. No one spoke much. They all understood what was at stake. All. Systems powered, reported his second-in-command, Olivia Barnes. Her voice was steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. Cloaking field is holding. They think we're just a small research post. Wells nodded. Keep all weapon systems hidden until my mark. Let them make the first move. Aboard the lead Zentari vessel, Captain Krelvor observed the human outpost with disappointment. This is their defense? A single base with barely 200 life forms? His scanning officer checked the readings again. Confirmed, Captain. Basic shield technology, minimal weapons. They appear to be scientists, not warriors. Krelvor sighed. This would not bring the glory he had hoped for when volunteering to lead the scout force. Open communications. Let us see if they will surrender without needless resistance. The face of Commander Wells appeared on the Zentari screen. The human looked calm, almost bored. Human facility, Krelvor began. I represent the advance force of the Zentari Empire. Your planet has been claimed as a protectorate of our realm. Lower your shields and prepare for inspection. Wells took a moment before answering. We are a peaceful research outpost. We have no quarrel with you or your empire. However, as representatives of Earth, we must decline your request. This facility and this planet are under human protection. Krelvor's upper tentacles twitched with amusement. Protection? Your entire species lacks the technology to protect itself. We detected your pitiful fleet hiding near Jupiter. 12 ships cannot stand against thousands. Numbers aren't everything, Wells replied simply. Enough talk, Krelvor snapped. Lower your shields or we will lower them for you. You have 5 minutes to comply. The transmission ended. Wells turned to his crew. They took the bait. Prepare primary systems. Remember, your training. On Earth, tension mounted in the Defense Command Center as they monitored the situation at Mars. Admiral Carter paced the floor while Dr. Shepard worked frantically at his console. The quantum displacement field is ready, Shepard announced. Commander Wells can activate it on your order, Carter nodded grimly. And Captain Nguyen? Her fleet is in position, responded General Smith. The Zentari haven't detected them yet. Karen Matthews entered the room, her face tight with concern. Any response to our last communication attempt? Carter shook his head. They're done talking. They're moving to attack positions around Mars now. In cities across Earth, people gathered around screens showing news reports of the alien fleet. Some prayed, others held their loved ones close. In Geneva, Diane Rivera organized civilian evacuation drills, moving people into underground shelters, originally built during the resource wars. Keep calm, she told the frightened families. Follow the guides to your designated areas. This is just a precaution. No one believed her, but they followed instructions anyway. Back at Mars, the 5-minute deadline passed. The Zentari ships moved closer, their weapons systems charging. They're targeting our power generators, Barnes reported. Wells nodded. Let them fire first. The Zentari weapons released bright pulses of energy that streaked toward the Mars facility. The base's shields glowed briefly under the impact but held firm. Impossible, muttered Krelvor as his tactical officer reported no damage to the human base. Hit them again. Full power. The second volley was stronger, but the results were the same. The human shields absorbed the attack without strain. Inside, the base. Wells gave a small smile. Now, he said quietly, show them what humans can do. Barnes pressed her hand against a console that scanned her palm print. Deep beneath the Martian surface, machines that had been hidden for decades hummed to life. The entire base shimmered as its true nature was revealed. What had appeared to be a simple research facility transformed. Weapon emplacements rose from hidden compartments. The outer walls shifted, revealing advanced technology that had never been seen in open space. Project Prometheus is online, Barnes announced, a hint of pride in her voice. Wells opened a channel to the Zentari fleet. This is your only warning. Leave Mars orbit immediately or face the consequences. Krelvor stared at his screen in disbelief. The readings made no sense. The human base was now generating energy levels that his instruments could barely measure. Impossible, he repeated. Their technology is primitive. They've only had space travel for— Sir, interrupted his tactical officer. They're targeting our ships. Evasive action, Krelvor ordered. All vessels open fire. But it was too late. The Mars base released pulses of energy unlike anything the Zentari had encountered before. The beams didn't travel in straight lines but seemed to bend and twist through space itself, bypassing the Zentari shields completely. 3 ships exploded in the first volley. 4 more lost power and drifted helplessly. The remaining vessels attempted to return fire, but their weapons had no effect against the suddenly formidable human defenses. Near Jupiter, Captain Lisa Nguyen watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. "That's our signal," she told her crew. "All ships power up jump drives. Target coordinates locked." Her small fleet of 12 ships disappeared in flashes of blue light, using Jupiter's massive gravity to amplify their jump capability. They reappeared behind the Zentari fleet, cutting off their escape route. "Target their engine cores," Nguyen ordered. "Precision strikes only." On Earth, Dr. Shepard monitored the battle with growing excitement. "It's working. The quantum displacement field is making our weapons unpredictable. Their shields are designed to block conventional energy patterns." Admiral Carter nodded. "And Captain Nguyen?" "Her fleet is engaging now," General Smith reported. The Zentari were caught completely by surprise. In orbit around Mars, Krelvor watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. Human. Weapons struck with impossible accuracy, somehow bypassing shielding technology that had protected Zentari ships for centuries. "We must retreat," his second officer urged. "We must warn the main fleet." Krelvor nodded reluctantly. "Prepare jump. Calculations. All surviving ships retreat to Rally Point Alpha." Only 7 of the original 30 ships managed to activate their engines. 6 made the jump to safety. The 7th, Krelvor's command vessel, suffered critical damage to its propulsion system just as it attempted to jump. The ship lurched, sickeningly as the jump drive malfunctioned. "Engine core breach imminent," reported the engineering officer, his voice shaking. "We cannot contain it." Krelvor closed his eyes briefly. "Transmit all battle data to the main fleet. They must know what happened here." As the damaged Zentari vessel limped away from Mars, Commander Wells ordered his forces to stand down. "Let them go," he told Barnes when she questioned the decision. "We want survivors to tell the tale." Captain Nguyen's fleet regrouped around Mars. The battle had lasted less than 30 minutes. Not a single human life had been lost. "Send word to Earth," Wells instructed his communications officer. "Tell them, first contact engagement complete. The Zentari scout force has been defeated." In Geneva, Admiral Carter received the news with grim satisfaction. "It worked," he told the gathered leaders. "But this was just their advance force. The main fleet will be here soon, and now they know we can fight." Secretary General Lopez looked troubled. "Will they retreat?" Carter shook his head. "Not yet. First, they need to understand exactly what they're facing." High Admiral Vextor stood motionless as the damaged scout ship limped into the docking bay of his command vessel. His forearms were folded tightly against his chest, a sign of extreme displeasure among his kind. Around him, the Zentari command crew worked in tense silence, avoiding their leader's gaze. The main Zentari fleet hung in space near Saturn, thousands of ships in perfect formation. They had been preparing to follow the scout force to Mars when the distress signals arrived. "Bring Captain Krelvor to me as soon as the medical team clears him," Vextor ordered. His voice was calm, but everyone knew the storm that raged beneath his controlled exterior. An hour later, a battered Krelvor stood before the High Admiral. Burns covered one side of his face and his lower left arm hung uselessly in a medical sling. "Explain," Vextor said simply. Krelvor swallowed hard. "The humans, they hid their true capabilities. The Mars base appeared to be a simple research facility, but it housed weapons technology unlike anything in our records." "Impossible," Vextor replied. "Our intelligence is thorough. Humans achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. Their technology is basic compared to ours. With respect, High Admiral, I watched 23 ships destroyed or disabled in less than 30 minutes. Krelvor's voice shook slightly. "Their weapons didn't follow normal physics. They bent around our shields as if they weren't there." Sub-Commander Krell stepped forward. "High Admiral, I believe we should consider the archivist's warnings more carefully now. Vextor's upper eyes narrowed. Show me these alleged warnings. Krell activated a data tablet. Ancient text appeared, translations running alongside. These records date back over 15,000 cycles. They describe a species called humans from a blue-green world with a single large moon. The warning is specific. They do not think as others think. What we see as fixed, they see as flexible. Approach with extreme caution. Vextor snorted. Vague mysticism. Useless. There's more, Krell continued. The battle recordings from Krellvor's ship show energy patterns that match theoretical models our scientists abandoned centuries ago. The humans are using quantum displacement technology. This caught Vextor's attention. That's impossible. Such technology was deemed too unpredictable to be practical. The energy requirements alone would... They've solved those problems, Krellvor interrupted, forgetting protocol in his urgency. And their ships can jump with precision we've never achieved. They appeared behind my fleet without warning. On Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. The victory at Mars had been broadcast worldwide, boosting morale across the planet. Admiral Carter knew better than to celebrate too early, however. He gathered his command staff to plan the next phase. The main Zentari fleet is holding position, near Saturn, he explained, pointing to the tactical display. They're regrouping and analyzing what happened at Mars. Dr. Shepard adjusted his glasses. We should expect them to adapt quickly. The quantum displacement technology won't surprise them twice. Captain Nguyen's face appeared on a screen, transmitted from her flagship near Mars. My fleet is ready, Admiral. We've distributed the shield frequency modulators to all vessels. If the Zentari adapt to our quantum weapons, we can switch to conventional attacks with the new frequencies. Carter nodded. Good. Commander Wells, how are the Mars defenses holding up? Wells appeared on another screen, looking tired but determined. All systems nominal, sir. We've repaired the minor damage from the battle. Dr. Garcia and her team have been analyzing the Zentari weapon signatures. She's discovered something interesting. Michelle Garcia stepped into view beside Wells. The head physicist of the Mars base had dark circles under her eyes from working non-stop since the battle. Their weapons are incredibly efficient, she explained. Almost perfectly efficient, in fact. They've eliminated nearly all energy waste in their systems. That's good, isn't it? Asked General Smith. Garcia shook her head. Not necessarily. Their technology is built on principles of perfect order and predictability. It's why they abandoned quantum mechanics centuries ago, too chaotic for their engineering philosophy. But it gives us an advantage. How so? Carter leaned forward, intrigued. Their shields operate on mathematical principles that can't account for quantum uncertainty. It's not just that our weapons surprise them. Their entire defensive approach has a fundamental weakness against the technologies we've developed. At the lunar base, Commander Peter Johnson supervised the final calibrations of the global defense grid. Every satellite, communications array, and power station across Earth and the Moon had been synchronized to create an energy pattern that would disrupt Zentari targeting systems. All stations report ready, his assistant informed him. The shield is at full capacity. Johnson nodded. Now we wait. In orbit around Saturn, the Zentari fleet prepared to move. High Admiral Vextor had reviewed all the data from the Mars battle and developed what he believed was a winning strategy. They surprised us once, he told his war council. It will not happen again. We will approach with the full fleet, not a small scout force. Their quantum weapons may be formidable, but they cannot possibly have enough to challenge thousands of our ships simultaneously. Sub-Commander Krell remained concerned. High Admiral, perhaps we should attempt communication again. Offer more generous terms. Vextor slammed all four fists on the table. I will not negotiate with primitives who got lucky once. The Zentari Empire does not retreat. We have conquered 300 worlds. Earth will be 301. The massive Zentari fleet began moving toward Mars, their engines creating a blue glow visible even from Earth's telescopes. Citizens, watch the night sky with renewed fear as news spread of the approaching armada. In Geneva, Karen Matthews made one last attempt at diplomacy. "We're transmitting a final offer of peaceful coexistence," she told Admiral Carter. "If they agree to recognize our sovereignty and withdraw their forces, we will share some of our technological advances." Carter looked skeptical. "You think they'll accept?" "No," Matthews admitted. "But we need to try every option before more lives are lost." The Zentari didn't even respond to the transmission. As the alien fleet approached Mars orbit, Captain Nguyen positioned her ships strategically. Though outnumbered, each human vessel now carried weapons and defenses tested successfully against the Zentari. "All ships prepare for jump on my mark," she ordered. "Remember your training. Hit and move. Don't stay in one place long enough to become a target." On Mars, Commander Wells and Dr. Garcia made final adjustments to the base defenses. "We've reconfigured the quantum displacement field," Garcia reported. "Even if they've adapted to our previous attack pattern, this will hit them differently." Wells nodded. "Let's hope it's enough." The Zentari fleet entered Mars orbit with weapons charged. This time, they didn't bother with warnings or demands for surrender. The front line of ships opened fire immediately, thousands of energy beams, streaking toward the Mars base. The base's shields flared brightly but held. Then the human counterattack began. Quantum displacement beams shot out in seemingly random patterns, bending through space in ways the Zentari still couldn't predict. Despite their preparations, dozens of alien ships exploded in the first volley. High Admiral Vextor watched in growing horror as his carefully planned attack faltered. "This is impossible. We adjusted our shields specifically to counter their weapons. They've changed their attack pattern," reported his tactical officer. "The quantum fluctuations are following a completely different algorithm now." Before Vextor could respond, Captain Nguyen's fleet suddenly appeared throughout the Zentari formation, having jumped with pinpoint precision. Human vessels fired directly into the engines of the larger alien ships, causing devastating chain reactions. "Pull back," Vextor ordered. "Regroup at the secondary position." As the Zentari fleet began to withdraw from Mars orbit, Admiral Carter watched from Earth Command with grim satisfaction. "It's working," he said quietly. "Phase 2 complete." General Smith looked concerned. "They still outnumber us massively. And they'll adapt again." Carter nodded. "Yes, they will. That's why we need to move to Phase 3 immediately. Contact Commander Russell. It's time for the demonstration package." Commander Frank Russell checked his instruments one final time as his small stealth vessel slipped away from Earth. The ship, barely larger than an old-style fighter jet, was invisible to conventional sensors. Its hull absorbed radar and light, rather than reflecting them. Its engines released no heat signature. To the Zentari fleet, it might as well have been a ghost. "Course plotted and locked," Russell told his co-pilot, Greg Foster. "We'll reach the Zentari command ship in approximately 6 hours. Foster nodded, his face serious. "Assuming their retreat position remains constant." "It will," Russell said with confidence. "Their military doctrine emphasizes predictable patterns. Admiral Carter is counting on it." The small vessel carried what Earth's leaders called the demonstration package, detailed recordings of the Mars battles, along with information about 20 other weapon systems humans had developed. Each one exploited fundamental weaknesses in the Zentari approach to physics and warfare. The message was clear. Earth could do far more damage than it had shown so far. Back at Earth Defense Command, Admiral Carter reviewed the latest reports with his staff. The Zentari fleet had withdrawn to a position near Titan, Saturn's largest moon. They were regrouping, but satellite images showed significant damage to many of their vessels. "How many ships did they lose?" Carter asked. "General," Smith checked his tablet. "Initial estimates suggest we destroyed or disabled nearly 300 of their vessels. Captain Nguyen's fleet lost 2 ships with 14 crew members killed in action." The room fell silent for a moment, honoring the first human casualties of the conflict. Dr. Shepard broke the silence. "The Zentari will adapt again. They're already analyzing our attack patterns from the second battle. That's why we need Commander Russell's mission to succeed," Carter replied. "We need to convince them that continuing this fight will cost them too much." On the Zentari command ship, High Admiral Vextor faced his war council. The mood was somber. Never in recent memory had the Empire suffered such defeats, especially against a supposedly inferior species. Our initial assessment was flawed, Vextor admitted, his pride wounded but his mind still sharp. The humans possess technology that operates on principles we abandoned millennia ago, but they are still vastly outnumbered. We have thousands of ships remaining. We can overwhelm them through sheer force. Sub-Commander Krell shook his head. With respect, High Admiral, I believe that approach will result in unacceptable losses. The humans have demonstrated an ability to adapt their attack patterns faster than we can develop countermeasures. You suggest retreat? Vextor's voice was dangerous. I suggest caution, Krell replied carefully. The archivists have completed their research. The ancient warnings about humans were more specific than we initially realized. He activated a holographic display showing ancient text. This passage is from the archives of the Mithrai, a species that encountered humans over 20,000 cycles ago. They describe humans as dangerously innovative and capable of conceptualizing solutions that defy conventional logic. Another council member, Science Director Ven, added her thoughts. We've analyzed their quantum displacement technology. It shouldn't work according to our understanding of physics. The energy requirements alone should make it impractical, yet they've somehow solved problems our greatest minds deemed unsolvable. Vextor paced the chamber, all four arms clasped behind his back. Are you suggesting this primitive species is more advanced than the Empire? Not more advanced, Krell clarified. Different. They approach problems in ways we do not. Where we seek perfect solutions based on order and predictability, they embrace chaos and imperfection, then improve through rapid iteration. At the Mars base, Dr. Michelle Garcia worked with her team to analyze debris from destroyed Zentari ships. The alien technology was remarkably efficient, with systems designed to function with minimal energy waste. Every component served a specific, optimized purpose. It's beautiful engineering, Garcia told Commander Wells as they examined a recovered power core. Almost perfect in its execution. But that's also their weakness. Wells looked puzzled. How is perfection a weakness? Because the universe isn't perfect, Garcia explained. It's messy and unpredictable at the quantum level. The Zentari build technology that works flawlessly in ideal conditions, but struggles with chaos and uncertainty. Humans, on the other, and we thrive on chaos. Wells finished with a slight smile. Garcia nodded. Exactly. Our neural structures allow us to recognize patterns in seeming randomness. We're comfortable with imperfect solutions that can be improved over time. The Zentari can't even conceive of our approach to technology because it contradicts their fundamental worldview. Commander Russell's stealth ship approached the Zentari fleet undetected. The massive alien vessels hung in space around Titan, their perfect formation a testament to their ordered nature. We're within range, Foster reported. Ready to transmit the package on your mark. Russell took a deep breath. Remember, once we transmit, they'll be able to detect us. We'll need to jump immediately to the emergency coordinates. Jump drive primed and ready, Foster confirmed. Transmission package loaded. Send it, Russell ordered. The stealth ship broadcast a tight beam transmission directly to the Zentari command vessel. The message began with footage from the Mars battles, showing in detail how human quantum weapons bypassed the alien shields. Then came schematics for 20 other weapon systems, each designed to exploit different weaknesses in Zentari technology. The final part of the message was from Admiral Carter himself. High Admiral Vexator, you have now seen a small demonstration of human military capability. Be aware that we have not yet deployed our primary defense systems. The weapons shown in this transmission represent less than 30% of our current arsenal. We again urge you to withdraw from our solar system and recognize Earth's sovereignty. Further aggression will be met with the full deployment of our defensive capabilities. The moment the transmission completed, Russell's ship jumped away, disappearing in a flash of blue light seconds before Zentari weapons locked onto its position. On the command ship, Vex's Tor watched the human transmission with growing alarm. The weapon schematic showed technology that could potentially threaten not just his fleet, but the Empire's core systems across hundreds of worlds. Is this possible? He demanded of Science Director Ven. Could they actually deploy these weapons? Ven studied the schematics carefully. The principles are sound if unorthodox. Based on what we've seen of their capabilities so far, I believe they could indeed build and deploy such systems. The cost to the Empire would be catastrophic, Krell added quietly. Not just this fleet, but potentially our core technologies, across all our worlds. For the first time in his long career, Vex's Tor faced the prospect of retreat. The thought was almost physically painful to him. Prepare a response to the humans, he ordered finally. Request a direct communication with their leadership. On Earth, Admiral Carter received the news of the Zentari request with cautious optimism. They're considering their options, he told the Secretary General. Commander Russell's mission was successful. Will they retreat? Lopez asked. Carter's expression remained grim. That depends on whether their pride or their pragmatism is stronger. Either way, we need to be ready for their decision. Throughout the solar system, human forces remained on high alert. Captain Nguyen's fleet maintained defensive positions around Mars. The lunar base finished calibrating the global shield network, and on Earth itself, people waited anxiously for news that would determine the future of their species. The communication chamber in Geneva hummed with tension as Earth's leaders gathered to speak with High Admiral Vex Tor. Admiral Carter stood in the center of the room, flanked by Secretary General Lopez and Karen Matthews. Large screens displayed the defensive positions of human forces throughout the solar system. Zentari transmission incoming, announced the communications officer. Establishing secure connection now. The main screen flickered to life, revealing High Admiral Vex's Tor. The alien commander looked tired, his normally blue-gray skin pale with fatigue. He sat rigidly in what appeared to be a throne-like command chair. Admiral Carter, Vex Tor began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. I have reviewed your demonstration package. Your species possesses unexpected capabilities. Carter nodded once. We tried to warn you. The solar system is under human protection. We have no interest in conflict with the Zentari Empire, but we will defend our home with every means available. Vexator's upper eyes narrowed. The weapons you displayed would not just threaten my fleet. They could potentially disrupt core Zentari, technologies across hundreds of worlds. That was not our intention, Matthews interjected, stepping forward. We simply wanted to demonstrate that continued aggression would be costlier than you anticipated. We remain open to peaceful relations between our civilizations. The alien commander was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a new tone, something close to respect. The Zentari Empire has existed for 50,000 of your years. In that time, we have encountered hundreds of species. None have resisted us successfully. None have developed technologies that contradicted our understanding of physics. Until now. On the Zentari command ship, Sub-Commander Krell and Science Director Ven stood just off camera, watching the exchange with intense interest. The entire War Council held its breath, awaiting the High Admiral's decision. I have consulted with my advisors, Vexator continued. We have examined the ancient texts more thoroughly. The warnings about your species were more specific than we initially understood. You were described as seeing patterns where others see only chaos and embracing risk where others seek certainty. Carter's expression remained neutral. Different species develop different approaches to problem solving. Humans have always thrived on adaptation and innovation. Indeed. Vex Tor leaned forward slightly. My science director believes your neural structures allow you to conceptualize solutions that our minds find difficult to accept. What you call quantum displacement technology, we abandoned as too unpredictable millennia ago. In orbit around Mars, Captain Nguyen and her fleet remained at battle stations, weapons charged and ready. They had no way of knowing if the diplomatic exchange would succeed, or if they would soon face another attack. Her crew watched their sensors nervously, alert for any sign of Zentari aggression. On the lunar base, Commander Johnson monitored the global defense grid. The interconnected network of satellites and ground stations was fully operational, creating an invisible shield around Earth that would disrupt any alien targeting systems. His engineers had worked non-stop for days, improving and refining the system based on data from the Mars battles. The Zentari Empire does not retreat, Vextori stated, his pride evident even through the translator. In 50,000 years we have never abandoned a conquest. Secretary General Lopez stepped forward. There is always a first time, High Admiral. History is made by those who recognize when traditions must change in the face of new realities. The Zentari commander's forearms moved in what might have been a gesture of concession. You speak wisdom, human. My responsibility is to the Empire and its people. A war against your species would be costly, perhaps prohibitively so. The humans in the Geneva Command Center exchanged cautious glances. Was this actually happening? We'll withdraw my fleet from your solar system, Vextor announced finally. The Zentari Empire formally recognizes Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. We will establish a diplomatic channel for future communication. Relief washed through the room, though Admiral Carter maintained his composure. A wise decision, High Admiral. We look forward to peaceful relations between our civilizations. The transmission ended. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Secretary General Lopez broke the silence. Did we just win? Carter allowed himself a small smile. We did. Though I suspect this is just the beginning of a complicated relationship with the Zentari. Across Earth, news of the alien withdrawal spread rapidly. People emerged from shelters looking to the sky with new understanding. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and now the stars seemed both more wonderful and more dangerous than ever before. On the Zentari command ship, High Admiral Vextor stood in his private chamber, staring out at the stars. The massive fleet had already begun preparations to leave the solar system. Sub-Commander Krell entered after a respectful chime. The withdrawal order has been transmitted to all ships, Krell reported. We will begin jump preparations within the hour. Vextor nodded. You were right to urge caution, Krell. The old texts warned us, but I was too proud to listen. What will you tell the Emperor? Krell asked carefully. The truth, Vextor replied. That we encountered a species unlike any in our records. One that sees possibilities where we see only chaos. He turned to face his subordinate. And that I recommend we establish a different kind of relationship with them than we have with other worlds. An alliance? Krell sounded surprised. Perhaps. At minimum, a cautious respect. Vexator looked back at the stars. There are threats in this galaxy that even the Empire fears. Having humans as allies rather than subjects might prove valuable in the centuries to come. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter met with his core team to discuss the implications of their victory. Dr. Shepard, Captain Nguyen, Commander Wells, and Dr. Garcia had all been brought to Geneva for the debriefing. The Zentari will keep their word, Carter told them. Their society values order and predictability. Breaking an official agreement would violate their core principles. But they'll be studying us, Dr. Garcia pointed out. Trying to understand how we think, how our technology works, just as we'll be studying them, Shepard added. The data we've gathered from their ships will advance our understanding of physics by decades. What happens now? Captain Nguyen asked the question on everyone's mind. Admiral Carter looked at each of them in turn. Now we prepare. The galaxy knows about us now. The Zentari won't be the last advanced civilization we encounter. He stood, looking out the window at the city below. We warned them to retreat and they listened, but we need to be ready for those who might not. As the Zentari fleet departed from the solar system, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The first clash with an alien empire had revealed something crucial, not just to the Zentari but to humans themselves. Their unique way of thinking, their comfort with chaos and uncertainty, their ability to see patterns where others saw only randomness. These were not just human traits. They were powerful advantages in a universe filled with order-seeking civilizations. The stars no longer seemed quite so distant, and humanity's place among them was suddenly much more significant than anyone had imagined. When humans had warned the Galactic Empire to retreat, they had not known exactly why the warning would be heeded. Now they did, and that knowledge would shape humanity's future among the stars for generations to come.